All right. Well, we are live without scheduling. So hopefully everyone can hear me and see me. Got a little bit of a delay here, I can tell. Let me know when you're on board and if you can hear and see me okay. Seem to have a bit of a delay more than I wanted. But I'm waiting for you all. Got lots to discuss. Miracle breakthrough, drug free breakthrough that I want to discuss. So hopefully we'll get some people on board. Let me know you're out there. Let me know you can hear and see me okay. And hopefully you've already seen the agenda to discuss. So excited to talk about that with you all, and just hoping people will log on within the next few minutes and we will get people going. So by all means, throw in the comment section. Let me know you're out there. Hit your share button and just wait for gather a few audience. I know it was sudden, but I wanted to get this out there. Very, very important. So I'm just waiting for the viewers to climb. So hit your emoticons. Let me know you're there. Hit the comment button if you want. I don't see any comments. And then I'll get on with this very, very important lecture of drug-free breakthrough that we need to discuss. So hopefully you're all getting on board with that. I see Andrea is on board. We're getting into double digit numbers, so that's good. Hey, David from Ireland. All right. And we got Ireland, we got Greece. So let's just get the people climbing, and everyone can hear me loud and clear from Australia and from Timmins, Ontario. This is great. So hit your share buttons, folks. Got a drug free breakthrough to discuss with you. Hopefully, you read the preamble that came with the live announcement. So I'm going to wait till I get up there in viewers, and then I'm going to discuss with you. Hello, David. So yeah, just waiting for the numbers to climb a little bit, because I don't want anyone to miss anything about this breakthrough that's coming. Drug free, actually. So I'm going to get going there. So might not have a replay, Sherry. I might just delete this after it's done, because it's a very, very important. Don't want to let everyone in on these secrets. But yeah, I'm going to middle of the day, and I know I didn't give any advance warning, so we are. I'm going to get to it. So good to have you on board, and hit your share buttons and I'll come back and check some of the comments in a little bit. But I'm going to get ahead and talk to you about what I want to talk to you about. And I made a few notes that I'm not going to share with you. But wow, what a thing. We got drug-free wellness here. We've got a breakthrough. And I'm going to go through the key points here with you. And then hopefully you'll be hitting your share buttons and adding your comments as well. So what if I told you that there's a way not to prevent cancer, but to cure it, to actually cure cancer? What if I told you how to not just stop the aging process, but to reverse it and actually live up to 400 years old? That's right. Best yet, what if I told you, well, not best yet, but what if I told you a way not to just prevent autism, but to cure it? And what if I told you, best of all, that I could cure your gayness or a loved one's gayness if you have someone so inclined that you want to cure them of that? So this is what we're discussing. This is a drug-free breakthrough that can do all these things, and we're going to get into that, and we're going to discuss that. And yeah, you want to hit your share button. You want to hear all about this. Drug-free cure to whatever ails you. Boom. So that's what we're going to discuss. And I'm just waiting for you all to make your comments. I'm sure you all know someone or have a loved one who could benefit from any of those things: curing cancer, curing autism, curing your gayness, stopping the aging process, and basically living forever. And that is the topic of this particular webinar. So I'm glad you could make it. By all means, throw in your comments. Hopefully you're excited to hear about this good news. And I'm going to share it with you right now. So hopefully you're listening, you're tuning in, and you're keen and eager to learn. And yeah, so I've got all this to show you, not just prevent disease, but cure it. even to the point where drug-free way to grow back amputated limbs. Yep, you can grow back amputated limbs. So cure your gayness, grow back amputated limbs, cure cancer, cure autism, and basically not just stop aging, but reverse it. Look like you're 20 years old and live to be 400. And no, I'm not joshing you. I'm not throwing nonsense at you. Well, wait a minute. Maybe I am throwing nonsense at you. Let me just tell you, folks. Hopefully, you've seen the beginning of this, and what I'm about to talk about, rant about, rave about, discuss about, represents the very worst of the wild, wild web. And I've been talking about this off and on with various topics forever. Checkout counter, women's magazines, lose 20 pounds in 10 days, and all the rest of it. Well, now we have, by popular demand, using the hook and the lure of drug-free wellness, don't just prevent cancer and disease, cure it. And that includes diabetes. Don't just halt the aging process, but cure it. All right. So don't just prevent autism, cure it, live to be 400 years old, grow back amputated limbs, and best of all, if this interests you, you can cure your gayness. So this represents the absolute worst of the wild, wild web. Came across my attention yesterday. This twit that is advocating this complete and utter nonsense had close to 60,000 followers. 60,000 followers. All right. Now, look, I'm a firm believer, and you guys that know me and follow me know I'm a firm believer in caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. Let me just go through some of these things here. So, all right. Don't just prevent cancer, cure it. Don't just prevent autism, cure it. Don't just halt the aging process, reverse it. And of course, cure your gayness. All right. So we're going to look at that. And this is some of the things, some of the announcements that were made. I meant to present this at the very beginning, and I didn't, but I get excited when I get into these things. So, yes, I have gone bonkers, Leanne. This stuff makes me bonkers. So this twit that advocating all this nonsense, 60,000 followers. Now, I'm a firm believer in caveat emptor, let the buyer beware, and that a fool and their money are soon parted. The fitness industry and the diet industry aren't any better, but they don't go as ridiculous. But we'll talk about that. And I'm a firm believer that morons always get what they deserve. Stupid people do stupid things. Stupid is as stupid does. And I believe in the W.C. Fields quote, there's a sucker born every minute. However, this is different. This concoction / protocol does real harm. And I mean real capital block letters harm. Imagine, if you will, drinking a gallon of ocean water, seawater every day as part of your cure for everything. Imagine what that would do to your system. So this complete twit and utter idiot tells people who are experiencing emergency biofeedback warnings from their body that the body is undergoing trauma, tells these people that these are healing symptoms, nausea, dizziness, headache, and worst of all, the main number one thing, explosive diarrhea, is part of this protocol, what this twit / idiot calls waterfalls, to give it a nice name. Basically, what she's doing is inundating the body with mountains of sodium all through 1 day period. You're drinking sodiumized water with cabbage water, magic cabbage, but there's so much sodium in it, and you're advocating drinking up to a gallon a day, that you're getting sodium toxicity to the level explosive diarrhea and all these other things, which are trauma of the body trying to tell you it doesn't like what it's going through. This person translate this as a very regular part of this healing process, And these are healing symptoms. They aren't healing symptoms. They are ill health warning systems. They are dire consequence warning symptoms. And there's more to this. There's more to why I am giving this any attention at all today, which boggles my mind. And you will see why just in the next little block. The person advocating this idiocy has no medical background in medical science or cellular biology, endocrinology, internal medicine, or any academic field that should be required to make any kind of ridiculous claim that are being made here. But this is the wild, wild web, and this represents the absolute worst of it. See, the difference is when people watch commercials on television from drug companies by law have a different standard to live up to. So when you hear a drug commercial and then may have the following side effects, that's because those things are monitored. But the wild, wild web and the supplement industry is not, and you can make and get away with wild, ridiculous claims. Now, what offends me the most here in all these claims is this one: cure your gayness by following this high sodium water poisoning protocol. Cure your gayness, I find to be completely offensive. I have many clients who are gay, many associates who are gay, friends that are gay, some of the finest people I know that are gay. I go to Aruba every year, which is a gay-friendly island, and I can't even believe I even have to mention this as a topic. It's such a non-topic in our day and age, or at least it should be. And yet, this is the kind of insulting, offensive crap that's being advocated here, that someone needs to cure their gayness. Well, maybe I need to cure my heterosexuality. Maybe I'm in need of a cure. Maybe I'll drink this magic seawater crap and have explosive diarrhea, and maybe suddenly I'll be gay and I'll be cured of my heterosexuality. I don't know, but I find that particularly offensive, and hope that you will as well. That one really, really offended me. But of course, you can also grow back amputated limbs if you follow this protocol. So what bothers me here is that this person targets very, very weak, very, very sick, very, very infirmed people, many of whom are in pain and want to hear anything as a form of cure. So they also, of course, take advantage, and there's no other way to say it, of very stupid people. I mean, there's just no way around it, no matter how much pain you're in and how infirmed you are or for how long. Stupid is as stupid does. And this is the lowest form of online scammery. It's like taking advantage of elderly people. This is the same kind of thing. It's taking advantage of sick people. This follows the usual Kevin Trudeau model that I've talked about before. He got rightfully sentenced to 10 years in prison for his nonsense of whatever that nonsensical book was, Cures They Don't Want You to Know About. This idiot advocates the same disease model, that everything's a medical corporate conspiracy to keep people sick and all the rest of it. And yet her protocol / nonsense of sodium poisoning, electrolyte poisoning is going to make people even sicker. So that is the preamble to all of this stuff. But what I really want to ask and what I really want to know is what's up with this, Dr. Phil? Because I wouldn't even address this. Usually I ignore nonsense online because most of it is nonsense. And you're right, Stephen, this is a salt cleansing, another idiotic trend on the, but this is what made me have to come online and discuss this today, interrupting my regular scheduled program and podcast. I got to say, what's up with this, Dr. Phil? This idiot was actually on Dr. Phil yesterday, and this boggles my mind and offends me greatly, especially in terms of potential victims down the road. Why would any reputable person who claims to have a reputable program of helping people give this twit any kind of platform? Not only was she on the show, she was allowed to talk and advocate her nonsense. So sure enough, I started typing in this idiot's name, which I'm not going to mention. Even the first 3 letters of her name, she comes up #1 on Google. That's not good. And when I did click on the #1 thing on Google, guess what? Searching just the first 3 letters of her name comes up, and there's an announcement that make sure you watch me on Dr. Phil. Do you know what an endorsement that is? Watch me on Dr. Phil, and it says the date and time. That's not good. That's giving someone a platform who's actually out there hurting people, conning people. And I don't know where it ends. I've talked about this stuff ad nauseum about online gimmicks, online trends, unbelievable. So I don't know why someone would, Dr. Phil, obviously now with online competition and television, you need sensationalized headings. That's what I use to get you all to watch. You also need sensationalized topics. But why have this person on the show and give her a platform? To people like this, to scammers like this, any publicity is good publicity. So shame on Dr. Phil. He knows that. His show goes out to millions and millions of people around the world. And if just a tiny percent of 1% of viewers of this episode buys into this nonsense espoused by this moron, this twit, this friggin' idiot, then the medical credo of do no harm by a doctor is violated. I do not understand why she was given airtime in presence in such a popular pop culture vehicle where, of course, you type in the first 3 letters of her name, watch me on Dr. Phil. That becomes an endorsement down the road when all of the hot air and tempers like mine have cooled off. It's still an endorsement for this twit. He could have easily done a show about exposing online health scams and just talked about the idea of this concoction, this cabbage water, sodium loading, with true experts. Why have her on the show, let alone have people on? They also had people on the show who believe in her nonsense. Of course, overweight people, uneducated people. One person even giving this concoction to their young children who, of course, have no say in this. So giving this to their young children, I would say, equates to a form of child abuse, not from the negligent, unknowing parent, but certainly from the idiot advocating this. And I do not want to say her name. You can search it if you want, but they don't deserve any kind of attention. I can't believe that Dr. Phil was so desperate to get ratings that he had this twit on his show. Now, other points to consider, but what's up with that, Dr. Phil? That's what I want to say. And then other points to consider, and I've said it before, if you follow me on the podcast, this reminds me of the old quote about scammers, and that quote is, a lie can run around the world and back before the truth even has its shoes on. By the time this idiot gets called out, and that's what one of the reasons she's #1 on Google is the call out, but by the time she gets called out, she's already done the damage and probably already made a lot of money. Remember, no educational background at all. And every time she gets challenged on that, of course, it's a medical industry conspiracy to keep people like her down. Same old tired argument that we've heard before. So the other thing that is extremely disappointing to me with this story is that it reinforces just how stupid people are becoming overall. And I'm sorry, there's no other way to say that. To fall for claims this ridiculous, to grow back limbs, to cure gayness as if it's an illness, to cure autism, to cure type 2 diabetes, to cure cancer with one concoction, one size fits all, one size cures all. To want to follow claims this ridiculous goes beyond wish bias over rationality, and this represents the dumbing down of the consumer to levels I do not understand and comprehend. Never have, but it's getting to the level now where it's even hard to even fathom that people can be this outrightly dumb and stupid, setting aside wish bias for the moment that people are in pain, and people who are in pain will seek alternatives to cure that pain. I understand that, but this is to a new level of ridiculousness. So I want to contrast this. You can cure cancer with my concoction and my protocol. And if you get sick, you're not following the protocol right. She has a circular logic, tautological answer for everything that makes absolutely no sense. And remember, no academic or experiential background in any of the claims she's making. But I want to contrast a twit like this that makes promises. Now, look, there's shades of this, just not to this degree, in the fitness and diet industry. I try to expose all the time. I know people that I've even worked with who I consider one step above moron, who have 10 times the following I have and make 10 times the money, and yet they probably can't put a sentence together with flashlight and a dictionary. That's the way the internet works. But this is a whole new level of taking advantage of sick, ill people who are desperate for a cure. But I want to contrast this kind of thing. Almost 60,000 followers, this twit, this moron, this idiot had. I want to contrast that with someone like myself. For 4+ decades, I've devoted myself to research and honing my craft, whether that be coaching, whether that be exercise physiology and nutrition and metabolism. Like many other experts, I've written books, I've lectured all over the world, and yet after 4 decades of getting my hands dirty and immersing myself for the sake of helping others, I have nowhere near 60,000 followers. I barely have a third of that. And on YouTube and other places, when I talk about no shortcuts and discipline and commitment and coaching and finding expertise, I get very near zero following, comparatively speaking. So we're back to tell people what they want to hear, sell people magic, and there will be buyers, and then let that proliferate online to other believers. And I even use the same tactical maneuver to get you to tune in and therefore tell you the truth afterward. But most of you who follow me know that, I was never advocating that there was a drug-free way to cure cancer, et cetera, et cetera. But it remains beyond bothersome to me that this is a new level of low, that you can just go out there, create nonsense, create harmful nonsense, having people drink a gallon of sodiumized water to the point where you have explosive diarrhea and you call that waterfalls, and that it's a healing thing because it's your body getting rid of toxins and all the rest of the circular logic that goes around with this. When people are becoming ill, they're having strokes, they're collapsing, blah, blah, blah. And yet people are quick to run to it, just as they're quick to run to various forms of idiocy in the fitness and diet industry. Boggles my mind. And I needed to point that out because people need to go online today. I want to say shame on Dr. Phil, but that's how I heard of this idiot even to begin with. And I watched him devote a whole hour to this twit. And I don't know why. He could have just run a good show with academics from all over the world talking about online health scams, and that would have been excellent. He could have mentioned, without mentioning this person's name, he could have mentioned the protocol and advocated against it. But this is what the internet has become. As much as there's whole privacy issues, et cetera, going on now, pseudoscience, craziness, misinformation, disinformation, and outright lies proliferates. And not only does it proliferate, it's profitable. And as I've told you before, I could have sold out years ago. I was part on the board of advisors to more than one different supplement company, and I left as soon as I realized that the supplements didn't do anything. They were more concerned with what they could legally say and claim than they were about, does our product actually work? So I could have sold out and I would have been retired now. Now I'm grinding it out with academics and research and coaching and grinding out, the fall years of my career. And then I see this stuff with people with get-rich-quick schemes by taking advantage and hurting others, hurting weak and desperate, infirmed others, and taking advantage to this level. It's just like taking advantage of the elderly and many of the other things that go on. And I just can't believe that Dr. Phil had her on his show. It's unbelievable to me. So with that, I'm going to welcome your comments. Hopefully there are some comments. And again, I think the most offensive one of all, the most ridiculous one of all, of course, is grow back amputated limbs and grow back organs. But the most offensive one of all was cure your gayness, as if somehow that's an illness that needs to be cured. And like I said earlier, maybe I need to be cured of my heterosexuality. Mind-boggling to an intelligent person, and it makes someone like me not even want to participate in social media when the dumbing down is this absurd that a twit like this can have 60,000 followers before her nonsense gets her in trouble. Is absolutely ridiculous to me. So let's just review some of the agenda items here. So I'm going to go back, and then I welcome your comments, of course. So don't just prevent cancer, cure it. Don't just prevent autism, cure it. So, of course, that appeals to parents out there. So, don't just halt the aging process, reverse it. As a matter of fact, you can live to be 400 years old, according if you follow this protocol. But you have to do it correctly, of course. If it doesn't work, that means, you're not doing it correctly. And then, most offensive of all, cure your gayness, and that is beyond reprehensible. And the fact that these people are allowed to stay on social media, I don't understand. It's the worst of the wild, wild web. And like I said, it's not that I have sympathy for idiots. It's caveat emptor out there. And yes, there's a sucker born every minute and a fool and their money are soon parted. But this is a different level of harmful stuff, promising things to sick and desperate people when we should be trying to help them, hold them up, and keep them positive. So with that, and again, explosive diarrhea, calling it waterfalls, and it's not diarrhea, and you're not losing electrolytes, and it's not harmful, and anything you're experiencing like nausea and dizziness from drinking a gallon of seawater a day, well, that just shows you that it's working. This is healing symptoms, So again, circular tautological logic. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But with that, I certainly welcome your comments, and hopefully you don't mind my rants here and there. I don't know if I'm going to make this week's podcast or not, but I interrupted everything I usually do this time of day to bring this to you. I even got Ozzy Ange on hold while I rant and rave to you about this nonsense. So hopefully you've got some comments to say, and we would really, really, really like to get this out there and get people responding to it. So Leanne's just saying for a minute there she thought I'd gone bonkers. Well, like I said, Leanne, I have gone bonkers. So this stuff makes my head spin. Sometimes it brings me to the point of saying, why bother? Why do I immerse myself in doing so much research when it gets no reward? Like, even look at my Facebook for the last month when I post things about the new research on veganism and protein, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it gets 5, 6, 7 likes, and then other people can post a picture of their cat and get, 300 likes. So people say they want to be educated, and it certainly takes a lot for me to invest myself in educating them. And then this stuff comes by and you wonder why you even bother. So Jeff Westgate's just saying, yep, take my money. I'm not really mad on Andre. I just think it's something that needs to be illustrated with passion and illustrated with emotion, because this twit talks with passion and emotion as well. And I think that's how she convinces people to follow her nonsense. And, I think it needs the message, the counter message needs to be delivered with equal passion. It just bothers me that this is what continually works. This is what continually sells. I don't know how these people look at themselves in the mirror, but they can. So it's not about, that I can't look myself in the mirror. It's that these people can, and they gain followers, and they gain them at a fast pace. And by the time the real world of truth catches up, like I said, the quote about scammers is, a lie can run around the earth and back before the truth even has its shoes on. This is dangerous, dangerous, dangerous stuff. So Linda's just saying amen to that. And then Stephen was pointing out earlier, salt cleansing, that's, another idiotic trend on the rise. Why it is on the rise? I mean, and it's funny, I post I post my podcast to YouTube, and I post it with the research. You all know when I do my webinars, I usually almost always do them with the reference to the research. And I'll still get, you know, what I consider morons and idiots saying, well, I believe you're wrong about such and such. And they offer no research. It's just a belief system and wish bias. And then a person like this uses that same kind of tactic. As a matter of fact, on her website, she uses the old Einstein or Schopenhauer quote, you know, first the truth is violently attacked, and then eventually it is widely accepted as truth, and blah blah blah. Like, and so twisting and turning quotes as if she's onto something new that's threatening the medical establishment, when actually she's hurting and harming a lot of people. So yeah, she was on Dr. Phil, not only on, but he devoted a whole show to this nonsense. So, Lydia, I don't know how much applause she got. I was going back and forth. I tripped on this by accident. Actually, it's not like I watched Dr. Phil. I really don't. I have better things to do that time of day. But so isn't it the same old snake oil salesman? I don't know, because I don't follow these people, Matt. I don't know who's who in the online world of scamology. I think we should start exposing these people more. There was a person, if anyone wants to track them down, there was a person on the show with Dr. Phil who apparently debunks all these online idiots. And I would love to have him on my webinar. If someone can find his name and reach out to him, I would certainly love to give him airtime. He didn't get nearly enough airtime on Dr. Phil. He got some. But he was well spoken, and he did his homework, unlike the twit that espouses her seawater sodium loading nonsense. But yep. And then Leanne's just saying 400 years old. Let's hope farmers can age enough to keep growing cabbages. Yeah, amen to that. Yep, desperate and vulnerable people. And I hate to say it, Leanne, but stupid as well. I mean, a few people that were on there that supported her stuff were saying, it's not like I'm a stupid person. Yeah, you are a stupid person. I'm sorry. If you think you can grow back limbs and organs with no scientific proof at all, there was one point in the show where one of her former supporters was shown MRIs by her doctors that she had 2 mini strokes, mild strokes, during the time she was following this protocol. And the huckster, the scammer, says, well, where did you hear that you had 2 strokes? Well, from the doctor. Well, there you go, she says, as if somehow doctors are doing MRIs and, lying about them and things like that. It absolutely is a new level of stupidity out there, where people, especially online, can just gravitate to what they want to hear instead of what they need to hear, and gravitate to anything that promises them the world for very little effort. So it bothers me. So Andy's just saying, I wonder if people would pay as much attention if Dr. Oz was just Mr. Oz, and Dr. Phil was just Phil. I watch sometimes. Dr. Phil has, I don't watch Dr. Phil, but happens to come on during a time where there's a show that I do watch. So I'll switch back and forth if there's a topic that is remotely interesting. Dr. Phil is a whole level above Dr. Oz. But yeah, if Dr. Oz was the Wizard of Oz, and Dr. Phil was just, Phil and his wife, that would be something. So yeah, I don't even want to talk about, the body reset workouts. And, the thing about this, Leanne, the 4-phase protocol, metabolic mayhem, all this other stuff, you would be amazed at how many of these people have used my own work in selling the stuff and twisting what I said into some metabolic protocol, that 30-day change your metabolism, blah, 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 yucky poo poo, stinky caca nonsense. But, very important. Steve is just saying he enjoyed my article on sodium. More people need to read. Appreciate that, Stephen. But this is the thing, folks. I mean, we got to get real about getting real. And I don't know why people are so afraid to call out scammers and hucksters and, people of very obvious low character online. It's one thing if they're just promoting something and pounding their chest and feeding their ego. It's another thing when you're taking advantage of weak, sick, hurt people in pain, and you're causing them more pain or the potential of more pain and even death. That's a whole other element altogether. And then when you carry it to an extreme that is offensive by telling people you can cure their gayness as if it's something that needs to be cured. I mean, I keep mentioning it because that is so offensive to me. Like, it's beyond fathomable. So, and like I said, I think what bothered me is I typed in the first on Google, the first three letters of her name, and it was number one on Google search. And that is a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. And I guess I'm just getting this out there because I think part of me needed to vent. And another part of me wishes that all you will look up this twit and maybe do something about it. I know there's various online movements to get her banned. I don't know how any of that works. I don't understand how any of that works. But it's funny that things like Facebook keep choking my reach down and down and down when what I offer is, researched, experienced, educated opinion, and they keep choking my reach. And yet this person, this twit, this idiot ends up with 60,000 followers. It's disheartening, it's disappointing, but it's also a warning, that, people will fall for anything these days. And the level of dumbness that we are aspiring to isn't something to be proud of. So, very, very important. So, Holy Moo from Melbourne, Australia. Hello. Hopefully you've tuned into some of this. If not, watch the replay and we will get back to it. So that's it for me. I think that's all I want to rant about. But drug-free way to cure your cancer, cure autism, regrow back limbs, live to be 400, reverse aging, basically whatever ailment you have, I don't know. Maybe you got body odor. I'm sure it cures that as well. But at the same time, it just might kill you. And let's call explosive diarrhea waterfalls, because isn't that a nice sentiment when you're running to the toilet and you're doing a splatter platter all over your wall? Let's call it waterfalls, because doesn't that sound like a healing kind of thing? Makes me sick. Taking advantage of people this way, and the visual on explosive diarrhea. Whoa. Anyway, all right, folks, I'm going to sign off. That's my rant for today. I got other things to do. I don't know if I'll turn this into a podcast or not, but I'm certainly glad you're out there. And by all means, please hit your share button, comment. I'll post this to YouTube later, and I'm sure I will get some interesting feedback. But, what's up with that, Dr. Phil, is all I can say, and I will end the broadcast with that. And don't go chasing waterfalls.